Hi there, and welcome to the Curious Collective podcast, conversations designed for the veteran and first responder community to bring awareness to those holistic practices that help us live our best life. So tap into the wisdom and knowledge of our guests to heal, transform, and live as your true soulful self. Hi there, listeners. Welcome to today's episode. We have with us the amazing Chris Thompson-Lang, who is fresh on the podcast from having just done a charity fundraiser for the Flying Doctors from Brisbane all the way to Longreach, which I'm sure he may speak into a little bit, but totally amazing. It was fantastic to watch on Facebook. But Chris, welcome. Can you please introduce yourself and what it is that you're doing in the world right now?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. So, as you said, Chris Thompson-Lang, uh, in the world right now, I'm trying to do a number of things. I was trying to just, maintain a balance of professional life and personal interests. So I'm working with Aspen Medical as the Director of Sustainability, following a period of time as the National Manager for Virtual Health through COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Where we had at one point up to 850 nurses providing telehealth across the nation. So that's sort of my professional side. And then personally, I'm still teaching yoga for Frontline Yoga, chairing the board. And I've recently just started teaching Pilates and have been enjoying that. And it was definitely great preparation for the long bike ride.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is it that you like about Pilates? Because for me, as a participant, I get inflicted a lot of pain on by the facilitators.
Yeah, look, I've always admired the story of Joseph Pilates and the work that he did with in rehabilitation with veterans, using hospital bed springs and
Mm.
just giving them the ability to isolate muscle groups to strengthen them and get back on their feet. Uh, but I hadn't actually done it until recently. So this year, I was given the opportunity, and it actually came about through Invictus Australia. They put out a call that there was a new studio opening in Canberra, and the lady that was opening it was leaving the military and was looking to build a team. And I just thought this is a perfect opportunity to do the course, to get my body into some reformer work. And then, yeah, it's turned into being a really enjoyable part of life.
Absolutely. I love reformer work. And so, this Pilates now, do you feel that your history and all the work you've done in yoga set you up to quite well for this?
Look, in a way, I think it's actually quite different to yoga. Um, I see it more as a gentle practice compared to CrossFit, which I also enjoy. So less risk of injury, uh, greater ability to isolate muscle groups. And look, I started doing it because I thought I feel like my body's getting a little bit older. I need to take more care of it. But I still like working hard. So the Pilates is definitely great for a workout. I'd say that my yoga practice is more beneficial to my brain health and nervous system
Mm.
rather than, physical strength. So there's the distinction, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So, more on that now, the nervous system and mental health with regards to yoga. Can you tell me more about frontline yoga?
Yeah, sure. So it came about after I did my yoga teacher training, and I met a few other people that were volunteering as yoga teachers in the veteran space. One other that had left the military as a military policeman and the daughter of a Vietnam veteran. And then another guy that was volunteering through another ex-service organization. And we just got together and thought, let's formalize this. It was really Kate, her name's Kate Aramid now, previously Kate O'Donoghue. It was really her brainchild. And she did all the hard work with the administration, and we just got behind her to promote it. And yeah, it's been so that was 2016. So it's been around 8 years now, and it's really just to provide uh, yoga in the community, free yoga classes for police, fire, ambulance, military, healthcare workers,
Mm.
anyone that's at a higher likelihood of experiencing occupational trauma and giving them an avenue to manage their own stress, teaching things like interoceptive awareness. So noticing what's happening inside our own bodies so that we can make informed choices about the types of activities to engage in to try and bring about balance to the nervous system. Which is a bit of a contrast to if you're feeling stressed and the body's run down, you shouldn't ride 1,311 kilometers, 8 hours plus in the saddle each day. Or if you do, you need to have some sort of practice to help restore the nervous system to promote the health, growth, and restoration hormones that we need to be healthy.
Yeah, how perfect. And also that listening to the body piece that you were just talking about and looking inwards now that you've done this big, epic adventure, now utilizing this time and all the skills and tools you've got to look at your own health and give yourself some self-love in a way.
That could be as simple as, and people ask me this, they're like, oh, what do you do for your own, to support your own nervous system? And if you practice something long enough, you can tap into it really quickly. So my simple thing is just to take a slow, deep breath in, release all the tension in my shoulders and my face, and just let that air go. It's just, and constantly coming back to that reminder to sort of reset the shoulders, relax the muscles. But in order to get to that point, you need to, and I love listening to you with the brain guy, you need to lay down that program in your cerebellum, in the hindbrain. So it's all about repetition, repetition, repetition. And it reminds me, we were both instructors at the great college, or the recruit training center. It's changed names a few times. But if you think about, the basic drill for soldiers, we drill the initial action, run down, crawl, observe, aim, fire, run down, crawl, observe, aim, fire. And you do it over and over and over and over again, so that if you are shot at and you go into that fight and flight state where you lose cognitive capacity, then you've already got that program laid down in your subconscious that you will act. So that gets you out of trouble. And I think about the practice of yoga, or the skills and the strategies that we learn in yoga, in the same way. If you repeat them enough times, when you're faced with a moment of stress, which could be, conflict with a partner, or, trouble at work, or, an email that comes in that you just don't want to face, you have the skills and the tools laid down so that you've got that initial action to be able to manage that stress in that moment and come back to your performing brain.
Yeah, I love that analogy, actually. I've caught myself just before we were on the call, the fellow across the road was mowing, and my nervous system must be dysregulated because I was agitated by the mower. And then I stopped and I did the breath and I connected in the body. I'm like, oh, I was so tense in the body because old mate was mowing across the road. But that breath was that anchor back to the present moment. So, yeah, great analogy with the IA. Thank you. So, what was it that took you to take the path to do your yoga teacher training? Like, what was your trajectory to bring you to the work you're doing today?
Yeah, good questions. So I had a pretty tough time towards the end of my military career, particularly, deployment to Afghanistan in 2011, 12 with MTF-3. A lot of suffering, a lot of death and destruction, and it had an impact on my brain. I didn't function as well as I could have or had in the past when I returned. And although I was able to sort of mask it to a degree, things started to unravel. And that went on for some time. And, relationship breakdown, the end of my career due to the symptoms of post-traumatic stress and depression. But what helped me throughout that time is I knew something needed to change. I was probably relying on alcohol a little bit too much. I saw a sign that said 10 classes for $20. And I was actually worried that the amount of money that I had left before the next payday probably wasn't going to be enough to get drunk. So that was the turning point. I walked in, paid my $20 and went into my first class. And for the next 90 minutes, it's slightly longer than what we run, but the 90 minutes it was the first time in a long time where I wasn't having these ruminating thoughts. I wasn't thinking about things that had gone wrong on deployment or the failures within my family and life back here in Australia. It was, I guess, just focusing on the teacher and the instructions and, tying myself up and trying not to pass out because it was a hot class.
Yeah.
I walked out of there feeling a little freer, and that led to going back the next day and the next day. And I did the 10 days in a row and then signed up for a 6-month membership. And it became a daily practice that really helped me to manage a lot of symptoms and then set me on the course to having a happier and healthier relationship with my children. And then just by chance, I had the opportunity to go and do teacher training. So this was Bikram yoga. Now, if you're looking to restore your nervous system, it was good to take my focus. But if you want to do something that's restorative to your nervous system, I wouldn't recommend Bikram because it's 40-degree heat, 40% humidity, 26
Full on.
2 breathing exercises, and it's a little bit more like Pilates, to be honest. It's a workout, which is great. I applied for the teacher training with them, and they award one to a male, one to a female globally each year, and I actually got it.
Oh, perfect.
So it was going to be in Thailand, and Bikram got in touch with me and he said, once you've done your teacher training, would you like to stay and work in the studio in Thailand for 6 months?
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought, wow, that sounds great. And I was seriously considering it. And then I had a bit of a lifeline from the Byron Yoga Center. And look, what yoga had given me was that relationship back with my children, where I was able to be a bit more present and, emotionally available to their needs. And the idea of going on a 9-week training and then 6 months overseas just didn't align. So I had the opportunity to go and do a scholarship with the Byron Yoga Center in Bali and went and did that instead. And look, I guess that's the backstory to how I became a yoga teacher. And then my passion for supporting veterans and any first responder sort of aligned well with what yoga had provided me. The rest is history.
And so did you, along with your yoga practice, did you ever dive into the philosophies behind yoga and go deeper with that as well?
Yeah, look, it was actually everything up till Bali was all about the asana or the postures. Asana translates to a comfortable seat. And over time, what I realized as I was dipping into the philosophy is that it's not a comfortable seat, just sitting, being able to meditate, but it's a comfortable seat for your mind when your body is in stress. So we use the physical postures to simulate stress on the body, and then you need to use your mindset, your breathing, your ability to regulate whatever fluctuations are going on in the body to maintain that comfortable seat for your mind. And I guess as I was looking at the yoga philosophy, which throughout my training, that was what changed things for me. I had a radical shift in perspective as a result of the yoga philosophy. When I was preparing to go over, there's this concept of the guna, the 3 gunas or the states or qualities that we all exist in. And those are rajas, which is the state of activity and getting things done, and the state of tamas, which is more like inertia and being still and rest, and then the state of sattva, which is sort of balance and goodness and wholeness. And I saw these three things as a bit like rajas and tamas being on a scale, And when you balance those two things out, then you have this sattvic state, or the state of goodness and wholeness. And I'll be honest, in a lot of the literature, uh, tamas gets a bad rap. It gets rubbished, and I think it comes from, you know, the literature's all around people communal living in ashrams, and if you have too many people that are tamasic, then no one cleans the toilets, no one washes the dishes. They're all resting their bodies. So I think that's why it gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
But if you look at everything in balance, we need to have periods of rest.
Mm.
And what came to me in that sort of study was that we were a couple of days off the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. And I was like, oh yeah, so that's when the earth is in tamas dominance, or resting, and the soil's resting. And that's really important, because then when we come back around to the summer solstice, that's a period of rajas dominance, where the earth is most productive. And if we can sort of match those natural cycles in nature, then we're far more effective as humans, and there's a lot less banging up against each other, because we're all in tune.
And I feel as well, like in the veteran first responder space where the frontline is and where I educate, is a lot of people haven't learnt to stop, because they're in this sort of masculine energy, but did you call it ramas?
Rajas. Yeah, rajas.
Rajas, where it's just go, 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 do, do, do. And if you're not going and doing and having structure and planning and processes, you feel like a bit lost. So it's that feeling lost is okay. Like, let's talk into that a bit.
So it's also, and I agree. So first responders, we're very left brain dominant. So it's all about, process, logic, checklists, get things done. And it's all high energy activity. There's, it's seen as a bit of a weakness or a deficit to stop and rest. But it's coming around. We're recognizing the value of dedicated, elite rest, because that makes you perform better. But it is go, go, go. And the downside is that if you ignore all the signs that your body needs rest, or if you're going against the natural order of, lunar cycles, solar cycles, yearly cycles, and you push through that, eventually your body just goes into adrenal fatigue, and the body will balance you whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So we see people, and I've had it myself, where you just end up having a mental breakdown or emotional collapse, and your body forces you to rest, and you go into this sort of depressive state. But it's just the body bringing you back to homeostasis. We're in this allostatic load or stress load, and eventually things will return to center.
And to trust the process, I guess, and reach out and learn the things while you're in that state, just to get curious as to, why has my body done this? What could this mean? What could I learn? Or just rest.
And that's the value of developing that interoceptive awareness, right? If you practice noticing, practice witnessing what's happening internally, and then take the cues, listen to the whispers from your body and make choices, then you don't have to fluctuate. The pendulum doesn't need to swing so far between activity and rest. You can have sort of these micro rests throughout the day, and then your performance long term is going to be much better.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. There's one more thing that I've followed on your social media for quite a while, and there was one thing that you did that I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. And I went down the rabbit's hole of it. The mudras. Are you able to explain to the listeners the yoga, like the mudras, and how they could use that as a practice?
Yeah, sure.
Or why you did for a while?
Yeah, so mudras are just hand positions. And I think the two that I find the most interesting, you may have seen, there's like the power poses that Conor McGregor might use, but the two most simple ones, if you think about the thumb being the universal consciousness,
Mm.
and the index finger being individual consciousness. You're creating a connection between the two. And then we've spoken about Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. So that's a good reminder
Wow.
of those three states or qualities.
Mm.
And, Rajas being the most active. And sometimes the downside of Rajas is that we don't really care too much about anyone else. It's all about achieving our own goals and stepping over each other. So that's another way to remember it.
Those of you that aren't watching the YouTube need to switch across and see what he's doing on the screen.
And then, the ring finger being restful. And the most subtle is that state of sattva or goodness. But one of the mudras is called Gyan Mudra. And you turn your palm up.
Mm-hmm.
And in yoga philosophy, Gyan Mudra with the palm facing up is said to be more energizing and opening, and you're ready to receive.
Mm.
And the impact on the nervous system is that your heart rate actually elevates, and it's pure, it's just physiological. So when you turn your palms up, your shoulders then retract and your shoulder blades flatten up against the back of your rib cage. So you're actually creating
Opening the heart as well.
You open the front, but it's actually creating pressure on the rib cage.
Mm.
So the upper lobes of the lungs are a little bit compressed. It's only subtle. And when you breathe in, the heart has to beat a little harder to circulate the blood around your body. So there's a slight increase in in adrenaline and cortisol. So it's more energizing.
Oh, I love that.
So you're moving towards the sympathetic nervous system.
Mm.
And then the other is if you place the palms facing down on the legs or in the lap, that's called chin mudra. And traditionally it's known as being more calming and more contemplative and cooling. And what happens with the scapula is they lift off the back of the rib cage. When you breathe in, it feels like the breath is more in you're able to fill your lungs more easily.
Mm.
And the breath flows a little bit more smoothly. So it has a calming effect because the heart's not working as hard. So there's a decrease in adrenaline and cortisol.
Oh,
Yeah.
imagine yoga is so much more than just what, I guess society deems it as, stretching. There's so many layers of it. And you can just go in at entry level and try the different styles. There's so many different styles of yoga. Or you can dive fully in and explore all the beautiful intricacies of yoga and expand your mind, really.
I see it as it's a gateway to, experimentation and human exploration. Because if you buy an iPhone, you get an instruction manual with it.
Mm.
You get taught how to drive a car and you've got an owner's manual with a car, but we're given these bodies which are far more advanced and left to figure it out, right?
Mm.
The yoga is one avenue of being able to really understand how we work. Yeah, get the
Ooh, I
most out of
love
life.
that. So if there's listeners here that have never tried yoga or even Pilates, now that you're doing that work as well, what advice would you have for them that if they're just peeping in the door and curious about getting started?
Yeah. So I think just it's important to find your tribe. So just keep trying different things until you find something that fits for you. And the beauty of most of the commercial options is that you can do introductions, whether it's yoga or Pilates. So just go around and try it. You might land in somewhere that fits you straight away.
Like you did with your 10-day pass.
That's right. That's right.
Perfect.
And that was a gateway. But I guess if you're feeling low energy, maybe you're working on trying to manage weight or re-energize, then something that's a bit more faster paced, or Pilates is a good option. But if you are feeling that you might be a little bit frayed, your nervous system is kind of shot, maybe you're in that adrenal fatigue space and you need some restoration, then I'd look to try and find a more gentle yoga class, or maybe yin or restorative yoga, something that's a little stiller. The trap we can fall into is that busy people find busy yoga,
Yeah.
where really you need to find the opposite to give yourself a bit of a rest.
Yeah. I know at the start I didn't actually know how to relax. This is a while back now, but I remember lying in a yoga class going, it was Savasana, which I love now. And I'm like, oh God, when is this over? Because my mind couldn't
Yeah.
stop. I was like, I've got 1,000 things to do. When is this class ending?
Yeah. And that's the bit we need the most, right?
Mm.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite part of the class now. The beginning part, I'm like, oh, when is the end? Oh, it's
We
funny how
always
we
give the
change.
option in frontline yoga classes, the teachers give the option to, we do an exercise at the start, the ground and connect. And then if you want to stay there laying down and just visualize the whole class, then that's okay.
Oh,
You don't
awesome.
have to do the moves.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Oh, thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure there's so much more we could talk about, but I think that's perfect for today. Is there any other parting words that you have for the listeners before we go?
Oh, look, aside from getting some rest and looking after your nervous system, I'd just say do hard things.
Mm.
And that hard thing might be actually laying in Shavasana at the end of a yoga class, but just keep stretching yourself to get out of your comfort zone, no matter where you are in life,
Mm.
because it's amazing what you'll learn about yourself and the connections that you'll make with others. Yeah,
Yeah, perfect ending. Thank you so much.
appreciate your time, Kate.
Awesome. Thank you, listeners. Katie out.